Hi guys, good night everybody. Just let me know if you guys can hear me. We'll start shortly. Alright, so so we'll start in a few minutes, right? I'll start at 8 o'clock. Hi guys, good night again everybody. Um, as most of you all should know by now, my name is Terry David, right? And I'm going to be doing a free session tonight and tomorrow night in preparation for the January 2024 CSEC Maths exam, right? I normally do a lot of free sessions coming closer to exams, right? Um, so we're going to be doing some examination type questions, right? That could potentially come in your exam. They're all past paper questions. Um, you all should know the format of your paper 2 exam, right? Your paper 2 exam has 10 questions on it. Um, all questions are compulsory, right? Your biggest challenge in that exam paper is going to be timing. Timing is a serious problem when it comes to finishing the maths paper 2, right? Um, and there are different strategies when doing the maths exam, right? My suggestion to you is to do all the questions that you are capable of doing first, right? Don't try to attempt the harder questions first. Always go for the questions that you are comfortable with, right? You don't have to answer the paper in order of the questions. You go to the questions that you are comfortable with to try to get as much marks as possible in the exam, right? So let's have a look at some questions that I have here to go through with you guys, right? All right, so this question is taken from January 2012, right? Using a calculator or otherwise calculate the exact value of. Now let me give you a piece of advice here. Once you see you have a question where they said using a calculator or otherwise, forget the otherwise, right? You can go ahead and use your calculator and work out the question. Now the key with this question here is that they want the exact value, right? So part one of this question here, we have a fraction, right? We have 1 3/4 squared. So this is 1 3/4 squared divided by 3.5, right? Now, like I said, you can work this out in one shot with your calculator, right? Or you can work it manually if you want. So what I would do here, I would convert this mixed fraction into an improper fraction. So 1/4 is 4 plus 3 is 7. So this is going to be 7 over 4 squared divided by, so this 3.5, I'll convert that to an improper fraction as well. That'll be 3 2s are 6 and 1 7. So this is 7 over 2, right? Now 7 over 4 squared is the same as saying 7 over 4 multiplied by 7 over 4. That's 7 7s are 49 over 16, right? Divided by 7 over 2. So if you're dividing a fraction here, we're going to have to change the division sign to multiply and invert. So this is going to be 49 over 16 multiplied by 2 over 7. So in this case here, this 2 can go into this 16 8 times. This 7 can go into this 7 times. So therefore, we're going to get 7 over 8, right? Now, like I said, you can use your calculator in order to work this out, right? So let me show you something here. Right, so this is my calculator here. Right, and if I wanted to work this out, this is how I would do this. Open brackets, 1 3 over 4. Right, so most calculators can handle fractions. So this is going to square this, divided by 3.5. So that's 3. Right, and we're going to get 7 over 8. So that's a way of double checking your answer, or you could have just written down that answer and still gotten that 3 marks there, right? So pay attention to these things. Your calculator is something that is very useful in that exam, right? So please don't forget your calculator when you go to write the exam, right? That'll be a travesty. The second part 2, right? We have some decimals now. So we have 0.0529. Right, and we're going to find the square root of this, right, plus 0.216, right, and they want the answer in standard form. So you need to watch out for these things. So in this case here, what I will do, I still have the calculator up, so I will work out the square root of 0.0529. So you're going to press second function, square root 0.0529 equal, and then we're going to add that to 0.216, and you're going to get 0.446. So this is 0.446. Now here's the thing. If you put this as your answer, you're not going to get the full marks for this particular question, right? What we need to do, we need to convert that to standard form. And just remember, when we're dealing with standard form, you have to write the number in this format here. It must look like this, right? That's the format we use when we have to write things in standard form. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this decimal point and I'm going to move this one place to the right. So you're going to get 4.46 multiplied by 10 to the power. Now, anytime you're moving the decimal point to the right, this is going to be negative, and I moved one decimal place to the right, So it's going to be 4.46 multiplied by 10 to the minus 1, right? Hope that making some sense, right? Right, so that's A part 1 and part 2. All right, so we have a question here based on salaries and wages. So a typist is paid a basic wage of $22.50 per hour for a 40-hour week. Calculate the typist's basic weekly wage. Now let me just close this off here, one sec. All right, close up this calculator. All right, so the basic wage is $22.50 per hour, and it's a 40-hour work week. So that's typically how people work, right? So the typist's weekly wage, right? To work out the weekly wage, all we need to do is to take the $22.50 and you're going to multiply that by 40 hours, and that's going to give you your basic wage for the week. So that's going to be $22.50 multiplied by 40. You're going to get $900, right? So that's your wage there, right? That's your basic weekly wage. So that's the answer for this year. Now, overtime. So let me just make a comment about overtime here. So overtime can be paid at time and a half, that's 1.5. It can be paid double time, or it can even be paid triple time. The one that CSEC tends to bring a lot is time and a half, right? That's what they tend to bring a lot. Once you see 1.5 times, we're talking about 1.5 multiplied by the basic wage. So calculate the overtime wage for 1 hour overtime work, right? So all we need to do, so since the overtime is being paid at 1.5 times, what we're going to do, we're going to say 1.5 multiplied by the basic hourly wage, which in this case was $22.50. So that's going to be 1.5 multiplied by $22.50, and you're going to get $33.75, right? So this is how much the typist is being paid every hour for each hour overtime, right? That's what that means. Now, that takes care of that part there. Now, to earn some extra money, the typist decided to work overtime. The wage she would earn for overtime if she worked a total 52 hours. So let's see how we're going to do this. So we have 52 hours. That's how many hours she working here. So therefore, 40 hours will be the normal basic wage, right? And we know that amounts to $900. That's what we just worked out. Now, if she works 52 hours, it means that she worked 12 hours overtime, right? Now, that 12 hours overtime is being charged at a rate of this here, $33.75. So what we have to do, we have to take 12 and multiply that by $33.75, right? So that's going to give us the overtime wage there. Just 12 multiplied by $33.75, and you're going to get $405, right? Now let's see what they really wanted. They wanted the right. So they want the wage for the overtime if she worked a total of 52 hours, right? That's what they wanted. So in this case here, right, all they want is the overtime part of it, right? They want the overtime part of it. So therefore the answer, right, the answer is going to be $405. This is the answer here that they want, right? All they're concerned about is the overtime part of the payment. That's what it is, right? We're not going to take the 900 and add it to the 405. All we want to do is to take the 405, right? Right, and I'm watching the chat here. Yes, guys, when it comes to maths, it's all about practice, right? It's all about practice, right? Even if you're writing the exam in June, all of this is practice for you guys. Right, so that is part 3, sorry. So this is part 3, but the answer is this piece here. That's the part they want, right? Now part 4 now. All right, let's see what's happening here. The total number of overtime hours she must work, right, in a given week to earn a total wage of $14.40. Now this is one of those tricky types of questions, right? And the best way to do this is to draw a simple diagram like what I've drawn here. So you know that the total wage that the typist is getting is $14.40. So this is $14.40, right? That's the total wage. Now that total wage there is made up of a basic wage, right? And it's also made up of an overtime wage inside it, right? Now you already know what the basic wage is. It's $900, right? That's the basic wage. So therefore you can actually work out the overtime, which is going to be $14.40 minus the 900, right? And that's going to give you the amount of money that is being paid for just the overtime part of it, right? So that's $540, right? So that's the overtime wage that the person is getting here. Now remember, the overtime wage rate is this. So if you want to work out the number of hours, right, it's simply going to be that overtime amount, which is $540, right, divided by the overtime wage rate, which is $33.75, right? And this here will give me the total number of hours that she worked, right? So this is 16 hours, right? So that's the answer there, 16 hours. Right? So your question 1 in your exam paper is typically based on decimals, fractions, right? Things like ratio and those things, right? And then we will get something based on consumer arithmetic in that first question, right? We have a next question here. Question 2 in your exam paper is going to be based on algebra, right? It's always going to be based on algebra. So I have a pair of simultaneous equations here, right? And you want to solve it. Now there are 4 different ways we can solve a simultaneous equation. We can use substitution, we can use elimination, we can use a graph, and we can also use the matrix method in order to solve a pair of simultaneous equations. Now if this comes as question 2 in your exam, then we're going to use elimination or substitution. Now CXC is not going to force us to use any particular method, right? So for a question like this, what I would do, I would use elimination in order to deal with this. So step 1, you're going to label the equations. You're going to call this equation 1. You're going to call this equation 2, right? Let me ask you all a question here. If I wanted to eliminate y, what do you all think we should do here? Should we add or should we subtract the 2 equations? Right, so I'm happy that I'm seeing a lot of people telling me that we should add, right? Because the most common mistake here that students make in a question like this, they think that we have to subtract, right? Now, guys, once you have, I want to eliminate y, right? Now, in the first equation, you have a 2y, and in the second equation, you have a minus 2y. If you want to eliminate them, right, what you really need to do is to add. Right? When you add these 2 things here, you're going to get 0, right? I know 1 or 2 people said we should subtract, but watch what happens when you subtract. If you have 2y and you have minus 2y here, and you attempt to subtract, that is the same as saying 2y minus 2y and that's going to give you 4y. So therefore, you're not eliminating y at all. So what we're going to do, we're going to add the two equations, right? We're going to add the two equations. So therefore, 3x plus x is going to give me 4x. We already know that 2y plus minus 2y is going to give me 0. So the y is already eliminated. And 13 plus minus 1 is the same as saying 13 minus 1. So this is going to be 12. So therefore, x is going to be 12 divided by 4. So therefore, x has to be equal to 3, right? So just like that, we figured out what x is, right? Now to get y, all we need to do is just substitute x into any one of those two equations. Doesn't matter which one, right? But for me, I will use the second one, right? So we're going to say substitute x is equal to 3 into equation 2, right? So in this case here, you're going to have 3 minus 2y, all right, is equal to minus 1. Actually, I just read it wrong, but it doesn't matter which one we substitute it in, right? But you'll get the same answer either way. So minus 2y is equal to minus 1 minus 3, right? Let me just make sure I'm not blocking you guys when I switch around here. Right, yeah, could work this up here. Right? So minus 2y is equal to minus 1 minus 3 is minus 4. So therefore, y is equal to minus 4 over minus 2. So therefore, you're going to get 2. Right? So x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 2. It really doesn't matter which one you substitute it in. It's going to be fine. Right? You get the same answer either way. Right, so this could come as question 2 in your exam, a simple simultaneous equation. Factorization, that's something that tends to come a lot as well. So B part 1, we have x squared minus 16, right? Now, there are 4 different kinds of factorization that we need to learn for the exam, right? And one of them, right, is called the difference of two squares. If I have a squared minus b squared, right, I can write that as a plus b in one bracket, a minus b in the second bracket, right? So x squared minus 16 is actually the difference of two squares. So I can write that as actually x squared minus 4 squared. So therefore, if I want to write it in the bracketed form, it's going to be x plus 4 x minus 4, right? So that's the answer. That's the answer for part 1. That's the difference of two squares. Second part, we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 8x minus 12, and you want to factorize this. In this case here, right, we can use factorizing by grouping. Because what they've done, they've taken a quadratic and they've broken up the middle term for us already. So if you want to factorize by grouping, right, we're going to group the first two terms. So the only thing I can factor out here is x. So this is going to be x squared minus 3. Then we have if we look at the 8x and we look at the 12, right, what we can do, we can factor out 4, right, in which case, something is my bad. Something is wrong here. Hold up. Yeah, this should be x and this should be 3, right? Plus, then this is going to be 4. Make sure I'm doing this correct here. Oh, my bad. But 2 here, right? So this is. So let me just say this over again, right? One sec. So we're doing factorizing by grouping. So I'm going to group these two and I'm going to group these two, right? So when you factorize the first one or the first grouping, only thing you can pull out is x. And this here is going to be 2x minus 3, Then when we factorize the 8x minus 12, you're going to factor out 4. So this is going to be 2x minus 3, right? Now this method here is called factorizing by grouping. Now anytime you're factorizing by grouping and you realize that this bracket here and this bracket here is not the same, then we have a problem. Something is wrong, right? So what you're going to do, since both brackets are the same, you're going to write down that bracket first. So 2x minus 3. And then in the second bracket, all you're going to do, you're going to take this x and this plus 4 here. So this is going to be x plus 4, right? So the answer is going to be 2x minus 3, x plus 4, right? All right. Yeah. So the calculator that I use, I use a Sharp calculator, right? The one you see me using on the screen is a Casio, right? It doesn't matter which calculator you're using for the exam. Just once the calculator can work with fractions, it can work simultaneous equations, work quadratics. You can double check certain answers, right? I saw some people asking about the paper tree. Yes, the paper tree is the paper that is usually challenging for most students in the January exam, right? That's typically the paper that gives trouble. Right, so that's part B here. Now let's see what's happening in this question, Tickets for a football match are sold at $30 for each adult and $15 for each child. A company bought 28 tickets, right? If X of these tickets was sold for adults, write in terms of X the number of tickets for children. Now guys, when you have a question like this, right, you need to read it carefully, right? Read it carefully and then make your decisions. So what they're trying to do here, we have two types of tickets being sold for a football match and we have two different prices. So we have adult, right? And we have, what do you call them? Children, child? Yeah. Right, so we have adult, we have child. The cost for the adult is $30 and the cost for the child is $15, right? So one is half price. And the company bought, a company bought 28 tickets, right? So that's the total number of tickets that was bought. Now if X tickets were sold, if X tickets sold were adults, so that means you have X here. That's how many tickets we have being sold to adults. The first part of the question says, write in terms of X the number of tickets for children, right? So if you're buying 28 in total, it means that the number you have left for children will be 28 minus X. So therefore, this here is going to be 28 minus X. That's what's going to be here, right? Next thing they want, the amount of money spent on tickets for adults, right? The amount of money spent on tickets for adults. Now the thing is, the cost of an adult ticket is $30, and you know that you purchased or you sold X tickets. So therefore, this here is simply going to be 30 multiplied by X, or you can just say 30X. That's it, right? So that's the answer for part B here. The next part, the amount spent on tickets for children. So all we need to do, we need to take the price, right, for a child and multiply by the number of tickets. So that's going to be 15 multiplied by 28 minus X, right? Now, we can leave our answer like that if you want, right? Or you can simplify it. It doesn't matter. So the answer for this is simply going to be 15 by 28 minus X. That's the answer for this one here, right? The next part now here, show that the total amount spent on the 28 tickets is this amount here, right? Now, we worked out the amount spent on the tickets for adults, which is 30X, and we worked out the amount spent on tickets for children. So let's add them up. So the adults would have been 30X plus 15 by 28 minus x, right? Now, if I simplify this here, that should give me the answer that they want, the total amount of money spent. So this is going to be 30x, right? Plus, now when you're removing our brackets, guys, we have to take this and multiply by that. So that's 15 by 28. So that's 420. Then we're going to take this 15 and you're going to multiply by minus x. So this is going to be minus 15x, right? Now, you need to bring your x's together so we can simplify. So this is going to be 30x minus 15x plus 420, right? So this is 15x plus 420. Right? Now let's see if that's the correct thing that they wanted. 15x plus 420. Yep, that's what they have here. Right? So that's the total amount of money spent on those 28 tickets. Right? So that's what we just worked out. Next thing now, the third part. Given that the cost of the 28 tickets is $660, calculate the number of adult tickets bought by the company. Right? Now remember, the amount of adult tickets bought was X. So what they're trying for us to do is to set up an equation so that we can figure out what x is. So all we need to do, we need to take the total amount of money, right? So this here, this total amount of money here, you're going to put that equal to, so 15x plus 420, right? You're going to put that equal to $660, right? So therefore, this is going to be 15x is equal to, so this is a simple equation here we're solving, 660 minus 420, so 15x is equal to 240, so therefore x is equal to 240 over 15, and we're going to get 16 adult tickets, right? So in this case here, the answer worked out to 16. Right, some of you all worrying about the paper tree. Don't get too scared about the paper tree. The questions, they may be a little trickier, but it's not much different to what you get in the paper two, right? So don't get too scared, right? Don't get too scared. Right, so let's try our next question here now. So your third question in your exam paper is usually based on measurement. And that can be things like area, volume, right? Time, right? Area, all of those things. So I have a question here. The following is an extract from a bus schedule. The bus begins its journey at Bellevue. It travels to Shagville and ends its journey at St. Andrews. So we know the departure time, right, at Bellevue. We know the arrival time at St. Andrews. Now you all have to be able to analyze a diagram like this, right? How long did the bus spend at Shagville, right? How long did the bus spend at Shagville? Could you all give me the answer for this? For B part 1? A part 1, sorry. That's an easy question. What's the answer for part 1? How long did the bus spend at Shagville? right? So I've seen a lot of people saying the answer is 10 minutes, right? So look at the time, right? So he arrived at 7:35 and he left at 7:45, right? So all you're doing here, guys, is doing this. 7:45, right? We need same AM, so we're good to go, right? And you're subtracting 7:35, right? So 4 take away 3 is 1, so therefore it is going to be 10 minutes, right? That's all, it's 10 minutes. Nothing fancy here. How long did the bus take to travel from Bellevue to Sharkville? What about part 2? What's the answer for that? Right, so same people saying 55 minutes, so let's check that, right? So all we need to do here, we need to take the end time, which is 8 a.m., right? So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna say 8 a.m., right? So that's 8:00. Now when you all working with time, you have to be very careful, right? So it's 8 a.m. and you're gonna subtract 6:40, right? You're gonna subtract 6:40. Now, how we do this, right? 0 cannot take away 40, so we're gonna have to borrow from this here, right? So therefore, this is gonna become 7. Now the thing is, when you borrow 1 hour, that is actually 60 minutes you're borrowing there, right? That's what you're doing, 60 minutes there. Is it 8 a.m. 6:40? Oh wait, sorry, my bad. I know watching something here. Give me a sec. Alright, see why it's important to read the questions properly, right? So it's Bellevue to Sharkville, right? I kind of went to St. Andrews, right? So it's really 7:45, right? AM, right? And we're going to subtract 6:40. No, 6:40. 7:45. Yeah, 7:45 minus 6. Sorry, 7:35. 7:35. Yeah, 7:35, right? And you're subtracting 6:40, right? All right, so 35 cannot take away 40. So therefore, we're going to borrow from this. So this becomes 6 here. But when you borrow there, you're borrowing 60 minutes. So therefore, you're going to cross out this 35. So 60 plus 35 is 95. So therefore, 5 take away 0, you're going to get 5. 9 take away 4 is 5, right? So therefore, the answer for this part here, this is going to be 55 minutes, like you guys said, right? Yeah, my bad, guys. Yeah. Yeah, I just had a class a little while ago, right? So I'm still a little tired from that class, so don't study it, right? All right, so the next part here now, they said the bus travel an average speed of 54 kilometers per hour from Bellevue to Sharkville. Calculating kilometers, the distance between Bellevue and Sharkville. Now, this is what we know, right? Make sure I'm reading this correct again. Bellevue, Sharkville, right? So we're going from Bellevue to Sharkville. Now we know the time taken to do this here is 55 minutes. Right? That's the time taken to do that. Now, what they told us in the question as well, they said that the average speed is 54 kilometers per hour, right? So this here, so your speed is 54 kilometers per hour, right? Now, what they want us to do, they want us to work out in kilometers. I gotta be careful with these questions. You're working out the distance in kilometers, right, between Bellevue and Sharkville. So the formula that we're using, so there is a formula. So speed is distance over time, right? That's a formula you all need to know for the exam. Speed is distance over time. So if you want to work out distance is simply going to be speed multiplied by time. Now this is where things get a little tricky here, right? Now you want, let me see what they answering. Right, so they want the answer in kilometers, right? They want the answer in kilometers. So your speed is 54 kilometers per hour multiplied by time. Now the thing is, this time here is given in minutes. Now you need to convert that time, right? You need to convert that time into hours. To do that, what you have to do, you have to take the 55 and you have to divide that by 60. This is how I'm going to convert the time into hours. So when I work this out now, 55 over 60 multiplied by 54, right? You're going to get 49.5 kilometers, right? Now this is a very common mistake that some students make. Pay attention to these units here. You see this in minutes and you see this in hours here. You need to convert that minutes into hours before actually calculating that distance, right? Right, let's see what else we have here now. Aha, CXC loves these kinds of questions, right? Now, water is poured into a cylindrical bucket, right, that has a base area of 300 cm squared. 4.8 liters of water is poured into the bucket. What's the height of the water in the bucket? Now, several things happening here. So it's a cylindrical bucket. So try to visualize what's happening here. So this is our bucket. Right, that's a cylindrical bucket here. Now let's look at the information that they've given us. They're telling us that the base area of the bucket, so this is the base area here, and that's 300 cm squared. Right? And you're pouring, what you're pouring? Water. Right, so you're pouring water into this thing, right? So water is going into the bucket, and therefore the water is going to have a height h here, right? So that's what's happening. Now the amount of water that you're actually pouring into this thing here, right, is 4.8 liters. So this here is 4.8 liters, right? Now let me ask you all a question. 4.8 liters, how many cm cube is that? That's the first thing I need to know. How many cm cube do I have in 4.8 liters? What do you all think is the answer for that? Right, I've seen some people saying 4,800, right? So all you need to do, right? You all are correct. It is 4,800, right? And how do we know that? We know that because 1 liter, right, is actually 1,000 cm cube. You all need to know this conversion. 1 liter is 1,000 cm cube. So if you have 4.8 liters, you're going to multiply that by 1,000, right? And you're going to get 4,800. Right? So that's the amount of cm cube that we have inside that cylindrical bucket. Now, the volume, right, of cylinder, right? The volume of a cylinder is given by your area, your base area multiplied by your height, right? That's how we're going to find the volume of this thing here. You would have also known that volume of a cylinder is also given by pi r squared each. That's the formula, right? I actually just did that with my Form 4 class this afternoon. So this here, pi r squared is actually the base area. So they gave us that already. That is 300. So the volume, which is 4800, is equal to 300, that's the base area, multiplied by the height. So all we're doing here actually, so this is water, right? That's the water inside of the container. This here represents the water inside the container. So if I want to work out H, right, I can write this as 300 H is equal to 4800. And some of you all might be wondering, why did I do that? Because I've seen students have a simple equation like this and they can't solve it, right? Some Form 5 students can't even solve that. So it's going to be 4800 over 300, right? So therefore the height in this case here is going to be 16 cm, right? So that's the height of the water in that bucket there. Right, so that's part of it, right? Our next one here now, the diagram not drawn to scale, it shows a cuboid. So we have a cuboid here and we have certain dimensions. State in terms of each the area of the shaded face. So they're talking about this here. So that area there is simply going to be 4 multiplied by each. So this is 4h, right? That's the area of the shaded face. That's the answer for part 1. Write an expression in terms of each for the volume of the cuboid. Now, the volume of the cuboid is simply going to be whatever this area is here multiplied by 13. So it's the area multiplied by the length or the height. So in this case here, it is going to be 4h multiplied by 13, right? So 13 by 4 is 52. So this is going to be 52 each, right? So that's the answer for part 2. And the last part, they said the volume of the cuboid is 286, calculate each. Well, that's easy, right? So since the volume is 286, all you need to do is to say 52 each, that's the volume. You're going to put that equal to 286. So therefore h is 286 over 52. So therefore h is equal to 5.5. Right? So that's the answer for this part here for 2 marks. That's an easy 2 marks. Right? Alright, so this question here is based on geometry, right? This question is based on geometry. So we have a diagram, not drawn to scale. We have 2 triangles, JKL and MLP. And they told us that JK is parallel to ML, right? And we can see that on the diagram based on these lines here, right? And they also told us that LM is equal to MP. So that means that this length is equal to that length. So therefore, let me ask a question. What kind of triangle is MLP? What kind of triangle is MLP? right? People telling me it's an isosceles triangle. Yep, it is an isosceles triangle, right? So once we have two sides equal, it's an isosceles triangle. Now let's see what they want me to work out. They want me to work out MLP. Now, whenever you guys have diagrams like this, what you do, you go to the diagram and you identify exactly what angle you want. Now, this is the angle that they want here. But because this triangle is an isosceles, I know that this angle has to be the same as well. So all we need to do for part 1, right, we're going to take 180 degrees, you're going to minus the 36, and you're going to divide that answer by 2 to give us that angle that we're looking for there. So this is going to be 180 minus the 36 divided by 2, and you're going to get 72 degrees, right? So the answer for this first one here is 72 degrees. That's the answer for this first one, right? Part 2 now, we want LJK. So let me use a different color here. Where's LJK? So always look at the diagram, right? So you want to get this angle here. Could you all tell me what is angle LJK? What's the answer for part 2? Right, so some of you all getting it correct, right? Some of you all getting it correct, I believe. All right, so a lot of people telling me it's 22 degrees, and I agree with it, right? I agree that this angle here is 22. It is 22, right? Y'all know why it's 22? Right, people saying alternate angles, right? Excellent. Right, that's what it is, alternate angles. Right, so it is 22 degrees, right? It is 22 degrees. The third part now, what do we want? JKL, where's JKL? JKL is this angle here. So always go to the diagram and see which angles they want us to work out, right? Let's see, how are we working out JKL now? Well, actually, what I would do, right? So I know that this angle here, right, was 72, right? This angle here was 72 degrees, right? So what I can do, I can actually work out this angle here, right, which is JLK, right, which is the fourth part of the question they want me to work out. So to get that angle there, it is going to be 180 degrees minus, this is going to be 22 plus 72, right? So 180 minus, open brackets, 22 plus 72, and you're going to get 86 degrees, right? So therefore, this angle here is 86 degrees, right? So that's JLK or KLJ. So this is 86 degrees. So how they made us work this question here, I had to work out the last part first, right? Then to work out JKL, JKL is this angle here. So all I need to do to work that out, that's going to be 180 minus 22 plus 86. right? So this is going to be 180 minus brackets 22 plus 86 close brackets, right? And you're getting 72 again, right? Right, so this here is 72. So actually, you know, for this part here, we didn't have to do all of that, right? What we could have said is this angle here, right, is corresponding to this angle here. So we didn't even have to calculate that. We could have just, based on the geometry of the figure, we could have said that that was 72 degrees, right? Right, what else we have here now? So you will get a question in the exam based on some form of transformation, right? Normally what happens is that they give us a complete question that has sometimes the 4 types of transformations. There are 4 of them you need to know for the exam. That is a translation, a reflection, a rotation, and an enlargement, right? So sometimes they bring a question that has all 4, right? So you need to be familiar with all of them. Now here's what we have here. The diagram shows PQR and P prime, Q prime, R prime, right? And they said state the coordinates of P and Q. Well, this is easy stuff, right? Could you all put in the chat for me what are the coordinates of P and what are the coordinates of Q? Easy marks. If you get this in the exam, that's the jump for joy. Right, I hope I see some correct coordinates here. I've seen some students struggle just to read off some coordinates on a graph. Right, so I'm seeing a lot of correct answers here. So we want the coordinates of P. So that's this point here, right? Now you have to be careful. So that is going to be, you read off the x coordinate, which is 2, and the y coordinate here, this is going to be 1. So this is going to be 2, 1. And in the case of Q now, the x coordinate is 4, and the y coordinate is this value here. So this is going to be 4, 3. So it's 2, 1, and 4, 3. Right? Next part, part 2. Describe the transformation that maps triangle PQR onto P prime, Q prime, R prime. What's the answer for that? What kind of transformation are you talking about here? Right, so some people saying, well, most people saying reflection, right? And some people, 1 or 2 people saying it's a rotation. So when you look at the diagram here, guys, look at where P is. P is here. P prime is here, right? Look at where Q is, and look at where Q prime is, right? Clearly, if we look at the diagram, we can see that it's a reflection, right? Now, you have to be careful how you're answering this question. You can't just say reflection. If you only say reflection, you're going to get 1 marker. You need to say it's a reflection, yes, right? But you must indicate what is the mirror line. So it's a reflection, right, in the line right? Now it's the x-axis you're reflecting this thing is here. So it's a reflection in the line y is equal to 0, right? Or your x-axis, right? Sometimes in the exam, CSEC will ask us for the equation of the mirror line. So it's a reflection in the x-axis, but the mirror line, right, or the x-axis is the line y is equal to 0. So that's the answer that they're looking for, right? So be careful. Don't just put reflection, right? You're going to lose some marks there. So you need to put this. You'll get 1 mark for this, but you're getting the second mark for stating either the x-axis or the line y is equal to 0, right? So that's the answer for part 2. The last part now, we want to work out the coordinates of P and Q under a translation. So now we're doing a translation here now. Now, they didn't tell us to draw it, right? What they want us to do is to figure out the coordinates. Now, that is pretty simple to do. So the point P, right, is given by 2, 1, right? And the translation is given by 3 minus 6. Now, if you want to figure out where P prime is going to be, you're going to add that transformation here, or that translation. So this is going to be 3 minus 6. So therefore, if you want to find that coordinate, all you're going to do, you're going to add this. So 3 and 2 is 5. 1 plus minus 6 is 1 minus 6, so that's minus 5. So therefore, that coordinate that we're looking for is 5 minus 5. That's what's going to happen to the point P, right? We need to figure out what's happening to the point Q as well. That's what they want. So Q, the coordinate here, which is 3 minus 6. And when I add this here, 4 and 3 is 7. And 3 plus minus 6 is going to give you minus 3. So therefore, the coordinates of the translated point is going to be 7 minus 3. Hope that kind of making sense here. Right, this topic here, somebody's asking what's the name of this topic. This topic is called transformation, right? That's how we work out a translation, Chantel. When you have a translation, you're going to add the vector to the coordinate. That's how you work it. Right, so we don't multiply, we add. Right, Sunil, if it's a reflection in your x-axis, it is the line y is equal to 0. And if it's a reflection in the y-axis, it is the line x is equal to 0. Right? Alright, somebody's asking how long I'm going live for. It might be about 2 hours, guys. Right? So till about 10 maybe. Right? Or at least if I finish the paper before, well, right? So this is one thing that you could get, right? This next question here is about a quadratic. So the table below shows corresponding values of x and y for the function. So this question is about a quadratic function, right? Your domain is from -2 to 4. And they gave us a table and we need to complete the table, right? Now, all we need to do here to complete this table, we're going to say, you're going to substitute -1 into this equation here, and you're going to work out what this value is here. Can you all quickly work that out for me? What is that y value that corresponds to -1? right? So the live is being recorded, guys, so it should be up, right? It should be up right after, right? You might be able to use the same link to get back in. Well, actually, Nesbit, we only have 2 days before the exam, right? So I'll do one tonight and I'll do one tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Yeah, one tomorrow. Right? So people getting 0 as the answer. So let's check that. Right? So you're going to substitute x is equal to -1 into this equation here. So the equation is y is equal to x squared. So it's going to be -1 squared minus 2 by -1 minus 3. So this is going to be -1 squared is 1. -2 by -1 is going to give me +2 minus 3. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 minus, so this is 0. You all are correct, right? It's 0 for this one here. What about this one here? What happens when I substitute 2 into it? Right, if you're wondering where what paper these questions, most of these questions coming from, it's from January 2012, right? All right, so I've seen people getting -3 as the answer. So again, you're going to substitute into the formula. So it's going to be 2 squared. 2 squared minus 2 by 2 minus 3. So 2 squared is 4 minus 4 minus 3. So 4 minus 4 is 0, so you're going to end up with -3. So this here is -3, right? Right, so the next part now, they want me to draw, right? They want me to draw, they told me the scale to use, and they want me to draw a graph passing through these points, right? Right, so these are the values we have in the table here, right? Now they told me, I don't know if you all, hopefully it is not too small, right? The scale is a little strange because it said on the x-axis, right? Right, so 2 cm for 1 unit on the x-axis. So the scale is this. On the x, it is 2 cm to represent 1 unit, right? That's on the x-axis. On the y-axis now, it's 1 cm to represent 1 unit, right? So what I would do in a case like this, I would look at the smallest x value, which is -2, and the largest x value is 4. So that's what I've done there, right? So I've drawn my x-axis and my y-axis, and all we're going to do, we're going to plot these points. So the first point that I'm going to plot here is this one, -2, 5. So -2, 5 is going to be here. That's the first point I'm going to plot. And I'm going to plot -1, 0. So -1, 0 is going to be here. Then we're going to plot 0, -3. That's going to be here. Then we have 1, -4. That's going to be here. Then we have 2, -3. So that's going to be here. Then we have 3, 0. That's here. And then the last one that we have here is 4, 5. 4, 5 is up here, right? So that's it. I've plotted the points, but then I have to draw a smooth curve passing through these things, right? You have to draw a smooth curve passing through these things, right? Right? So in a case like this, what I don't want you all to do in the exams, don't take a ruler and try to join the points, right? Don't take a ruler and join the points using a ruler, right? You actually have to draw a smooth curve passing through all these things, right? So you're gonna have to take your right? So as best as you can, you're gonna try to draw a smooth curve that passes through the points, right? So this is an approximation here, right? But you're gonna have to take your hand and your pencil and draw a smooth curve that passes through all of those points, right? So this here is what we call a quadratic. So this is a quadratic function, right? In this case, what we can tell about a quadratic function is that it has a minimum value, right? So this quadratic function has a minimum value. Now let's see what they want us to, how many marks for this, buddy? Oh, 4 marks for drawing this, right? Only 4 marks. Use your graph to estimate the value of y when x is 3.5, right? So I have the diagram here. So here's what I want to know. When x is 3.5, I want you all to look at my graph and tell me what should y. Right, so you're getting 2.2 as the answer approximately, right? So let's see. So if you look at the graph, right, now they want you to show on the diagram what's happening, right? So what you would have to do in a case like this, right? You're gonna have to take your ruler, so we're gonna go at 3.5, not somewhere here, right? That's on your x-axis. So you'll need to show this, right? So because CXC wants us to show this on the diagram, right? You get marks for that, right? And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna read off on your x-axis, sorry, on your y-axis. Right, now based on the diagram there, right, or based on what I'm seeing here, it's approximately, now I saw some of you all say 2.1, so the line right after the 2 marker is not actually 2.1, it's 2.2, eh? Right, so be careful with that, right? That's actually 2.2, not 2.1, right? So this y value here is 2.2, that's y value. Right, so this here is 2.2. Y is equal to 2.2. right? Now, the next part, they said, without further calculations, write down the equation for the axis of symmetry. Now, your axis of symmetry is a vertical line, right? It's a vertical line where if I fold the graph paper along this line, right, the left and the right is going to line up exactly. So this here, right, is your mirror line, right? And your mirror line is always x is equal to something. All you need to do is to look at this value here. And that mirror line is x is equal to 1, right? So that's the answer for that part. So they said the equation of the axis of symmetry, it's always x equal to something. So it's going to be x is equal to 1. Part 2, estimate the minimum value of the function y. So the minimum value, right, is the lowest value that the function can take. So all you guys need to do is to read off the lowest part on the graph here. That's what they want. They want you to read off the lowest part on the graph, which in this case is going to be -4, right? That's the lowest part on the graph. So this here is going to be -4, right? That's the lowest value that y can take. It is -4. And then the third part now, state the values. So if you all not seen it clearly here, because I barely seen it, x squared minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. What they're asking us to do here is to solve this quadratic, right, by using our graph. Whenever you have a quadratic equal to 0, all you guys doing is reading off the values on your x-axis. So you're going to read off this value here. That's one solution, x is equal to 3. And the second solution is x is equal to -1, right? That's how you use your graph to solve a quadratic. So the answers will be x is equal to 3 and also x is equal to -1. Right, so moving on, right, you will get a question on statistics for sure, right, and it can be of varying forms, right. So in this question we have a histogram. So the histogram shows the distribution of heights of seedlings in a sample. So we have frequency here and we have height in centimeters. So it's a histogram, right? In a histogram all the bars are touching each other. Right, that's one of the key things about a histogram. Now, what they want us to do here, they want us to complete the frequency table, right, for the data in the sample. So if you notice, they have some numbers here, 18, 25. So that's the first two bars. So this here corresponds to 18. This one corresponds to 25. So the next one here will be 21, 22, 23. So if I'm completing this here will be 23. Then the one after that will be 20. And then the last one is going to be 14. Right? The last one here is 14. So they want us to complete the frequency table. But if you notice, they have midpoints. Now, I've seen students in some exams, they're trying to calculate the midpoint. If you notice what's happening here, you don't need to calculate the midpoint. You started off with 5.5. Next one is 15.5. Right? So we expect this one here to be 25.5. So there's no need to calculate it. This one will be 35.5. And the last one will be 45.5. So that's your midpoint. So we're getting an easy 3 marks here just for completing that table based on the histogram. Right? So that's your answer for that part of the question. Right, the next thing they want the modal class interval. Can you all look at the table and tell me what's a modal class? What is the modal class interval here? Right, people saying 11 to 20. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. So your modal class is the one that has the highest frequency. That's 25. So therefore, it's going to be 11 to 20. Yep, I agree with that. So this here is going to be 11 to 20. All right, so that's 1 mark for that. Determine the number of seedlings in the sample. Right? So if you want to get the total number of seedlings, right, all we need to do is to add up the frequencies here. So this is sigma f. You're going to add up all of those numbers. So that's 18 plus 25 plus 23 plus 20 plus 14. And I'm getting 100 here. Right? So that's how many seedlings we have. We have 100 seedlings in the sample. Right? So this answer here is going to be 100. So actually we're getting 2 marks just for adding some numbers. And the next part here, they want the mean of the seedlings. Now if you notice, they're giving you plenty marks for this part. What does it mean? Now this table that we have here, right? This table has this is what we call group data, right? And if you want to find the mean, right? The mean is given by x bar, and the formula is sigma xf over sigma f, right? So we have to use a table in order to estimate the mean. So here's what you need to do. So this here, your midpoint is what we call x. This here is your frequency. So we need to create a new column and we need to call that x multiplied by f, right? That's what we're going to do. Right? So all you're doing, you're taking the midpoints and you're multiplying by the frequency, right? That's all we're doing. So in this case here, alright, so you all could just double check my answer, but 5.5 multiplied by 18, you're going to get 99. So this here is 99. Then we have 15.5 multiplied by 25. So we get 387.5. So this is 387.5. Then we have 25.5 multiplied by 23. That's 586.5. Right? Then we have 35.5 by 20. That's 710. And then we have 45.5 multiplied by 14, and that's 637. Right? So all we need to do, you see this column here? We need to add that up. So that's going to be 99 plus 387.5 plus 586.5 plus 710 plus 637 right? And when I add this up here, right? So when I add up that column, sigma xf, I'm getting 24, 20. So therefore the mean will be 24, 20 divided by 100. So you're going to get 24.20 cm, right? That's going to be my mean in this case here, right? 24.20. Right, I saw some of you all worked it out. Excellent job, guys. All right. right? And the last part of the question, they want to work out the probability that a seedling, so this is probability now, chosen at random, has a height, so the height is greater than 30 cm, right? So we need to go to our table. So we're looking for something that has a height greater than 30 cm, right? So if you want greater than 30 cm, right, you need to know where the cutoff value is here. So in terms of boundaries, class boundaries, this boundary here is 30.5, right? The question says greater than 30, right? Greater than 30. So greater than 30 will be, right, these two figures here, 20 plus 14, right? That will give us the total number of seedlings that have a height greater than 30 cm, right? So in this case here, that is going to be 34 seedlings, the 20 plus the 14, right? So this is going to be the 20 plus the 14, and you're going to divide that by the total number of seedlings, which is 100. So this is actually 34 over 100, right? So read these questions carefully, right? There's a reason why they put this in caps here, right? So they wanted you to figure out where is your upper class boundary and then make a decision based on that, right? Right, when you are given your probabilities, try to use decimals or fractions, right? Try to use decimals or fractions when you're working out your probabilities, right? All right, guys, so we just have a few more questions inside here to do, right? What I want you all to do is please hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so as yet, right? Please hit like and subscribe. Right. All right, now you guys have or will be given a question based on what we call an investigation type question, right? It's usually worth 10 marks, right? And it's all about pattern recognition, right? It's your ability to be able to recognize a pattern. So Sarah is making a pattern of squares using straws. She uses 4 straws for the sides and 2 longer straws for the diagonals. The first 3 figures of a sequence are shown. All right. They want us to draw the 4th figure here, right? So if you look at the pattern, all you're doing here is adding 1 more box. That's all you're doing, right? You keep adding 1 more. So therefore, this new pattern, right? So this is an easy 2 marks if this comes in your exam. Eh? When they ask us to draw a pattern, that's a 2 marks you should be able to get. Right, I'm just drawing it freehand, but in the exam, try your best, use rulers. Right, so this is my 4th figure here for 2 marks. That's it, right? Easy 2 marks. Now, they want us to, what they want us to do? On the answer sheet, complete 2 rows, right? Figure 4 and figure 10. So when you're given a question like this, you have to look and see what the pattern is, right? So if you notice something in this pattern here, you realize that the figure number is this first number here. So you have a 2 here, you have a 2 here, you have a 3 here, and you have a 3 here. So if this is figure 4, then there should be a 4 here. And if you notice, the number in brackets is always going to be a 6. And then when you look at what happens next, it's a subtraction. But the number that you have coming next here, this number here, is 1 less than this. So therefore, what we expect this to be, we expect this to be 3, right? So 6 4s are 24. 24 minus 3, you're going to get 21. That's what's coming here, right? So that's the answer for this here. For this row here now, this row here, you have figure 10. So therefore we expect this number to be 10 by 6 minus, right? This number will be 1 less, so it's 9. So that's 10 6s are 60. 60 minus 9, you're going to get 51, right? So we're getting 4 marks just for working that out there. That's it, right? So these pattern questions are very easy if you know what you're doing, right? Yeah, so this question here was very easy, right? Compared to some of the other questions they brought in the past. Now, they said which figure in the sequence uses 106 straws. See what's happening here. And then they want obtain an expression for n. So what I would do, right, in questions like these, I tend to work out the pattern first before doing anything else. So if we go back to the diagram here, right, let's say we had a figure n. For the formula, right, for the number of straws, it'll be n multiplied by 6 minus n minus 1. That's what the formula is going to look like. So this formula, n by 6, is going to give me 6n minus n plus 1, right? So if I simplify this, I'm going to get 5n plus 1. So that's the formula. That's actually the formula to work out this thing, right? So in this case here, so the answer for part D is going to be 5n plus 1, right? That's the formula, 5n plus 1. Now, if we want to figure out which figure corresponds to 106 straws, all you need to do is to put 5n plus 1 equal 106. So therefore, 5n is equal to 106 minus 1. So 5n is equal to 105. So n is 105 over 5. So therefore, n is equal to 51. So therefore, your 51st figure corresponds to that, right? So this question here is based on functions, right? This question is based on functions. So we have an equation here, y is equal to 2x plus 3 over x minus 4, and you want to make x the subject of the formula. So you're rearranging the formula, right? So y is equal to 2x plus 3 over x minus 4, right? So some students struggle when trying to do something like this. So what I would do, I would first write the left-hand side as y over 1. And the reason why I'm doing that is so that you can recognize that you could cross-multiply here, right? That's what you want to do. You want to cross-multiply here. So in this case, this is going to be y multiplied by x minus 4 is equal to 2x plus 3. Then I'm going to remove the brackets on the left-hand side, so you end up with yx minus 4y is equal to 2x plus 3. Right? Now we're not done yet because you want to make x the subject of the formula. So what you're going to do, you're going to bring all your x's to one side. So you're going to have yx minus 2x is equal to 3 plus 4y. Right? On the left-hand side now, because you have two terms in x, you're going to factorize this. So this is going to be y minus 2 is equal to 3 plus 4y. So therefore, x is equal to 3 plus 4y over y minus 2. Right? So what we've actually done here, guys, we've actually worked out the inverse of this function here in Smarter. That's what we did. Right, so that's the answer for this part here, right? For part 2, determine the inverse of, right, So we actually worked out the inverse already here, guys, right? We actually worked out the inverse already, right? So in this case here, what's happening, we have to, in this case here, what's happening here, you want to work out the inverse of this function here, right? So all we need to do is to say f inverse of x, right? We're just going to put this as a sum. Right? Now, there's a step that we need to put in here, right? Because they told us to work out or make x the subject of the formula, right? Because they told us to make x the subject of the formula, what's going to happen here is that we're going to have to interchange your x and your y, right? So the inverse of this function here is going to be 3, right, plus 4x, right, all over x minus 2, right? So this is what the inverse is going to be. If you notice here, this has y in the equation, right? So you got to be careful with this, right? So this is a kind of tricky kind of question here, right? And the last part, right? Find the value of x for which f of x is equal to 0, right? Find the value of x for which f of x is equal to 0. So they want you to take the function and they want you to put that equal to 0. Now, for a question like this, right? For a question like this, what you need to do, you need to put 2x plus 3 all over x minus 4 is equal to 0, right? But the only way this expression will be equal to 0 is if the numerator, that's the top part, is equal to 0. So this is going to be 2x plus 3 is equal to 0, 2x is equal to minus 3, and x is equal to minus 3 over 2, right? So that's the answer for that part of the question. Right, so I have a few more to do, so I'm kind of moving on, right? All right, so this one here is based on something called linear programming, right? So some of you all may have done this as an SBA lab, right? I'm sorry, SBA, right? So the diagram shows 3 lines and a shaded region defined by 3 inequalities, right? So we have those equations here, right? And they said state the other 2 inequalities that define the shaded region. So what they've done, right, you have 3 lines. Now this here represents the shaded region, right? That's the shaded region. Now they already gave us one of the inequalities. They said one inequality is this: 3y is greater than or equal to x. That's one inequality. So that takes care of this line here, right? That takes care of this line here. So you're shading everything above that line. That's what's happening here. Now, when we look at the line x is equal to 6, based on what is shaded, the common region, you have to shade to the right. So this is going to be x is greater than or equal to 6. That's your second inequality there, right? That's your second inequality. Right? Now the next inequality, we need to shade for this line. We're looking at this line here, x plus y is equal to 40. You want to shade this part of the line, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to say x plus y is less than or equal to 40. That's the inequality that they're looking for here, right? Now this is something that you can definitely get in your exam. Right, now, normally when we do a inequality question like this, a linear programming question, right, they're gonna ask us to work out profit or cost. So they give us an equation here, p is equal to 4x plus 3y, and they want us to identify three pairs of values, right, for which p can have a maximum or minimum value. So the first thing we're gonna do, you're gonna look at the shaded region, and we need to read off our values from the graph. So hold on, I need to erase this because I'm not seeing it properly. All right, let's see what kind of coordinates we're looking at here. So this coordinate here is going to be 30, 10. So this here is 30, 10, right? As this point here. This next one here is going to be, what is this here? 34. This is going to be 634. Yeah, that's looking like 634. Correct me if I'm wrong, This is what I'm seeing on the diagram. And then this last one here is going to be 62. Right? So whenever you have an inequality like this, right? Whenever you have an inequality like this, what you're doing, you're looking at the vertices of that shaded region here. So let me just write it down. 634. That's 1 point. Next one is 662 and then 30, 10. Right, so these are the coordinates that we're looking at here. So that's part 2. They want three pairs of values that we can use. So all of those are possible. Next part, they want which pair makes P a maximum. So the formula is given by this here. 4x plus 3y. So you're going to say 4 by your x value, which is 6 plus 3y. So that's 34. So I'm just going to write out all of them first, and then we're going to calculate it. So this is going to be 4 by 6 plus 3 by 2. The next one is 4 by 30 plus 3 by 10. Right? So we need to work out each of these here. So the first one will be 24 plus brackets 3 by 34. That's going to be 126. Next one here is 6 over 24 plus 6. That's going to be 30. And then the last one is 4 3 is 12. That's 120 plus 30. So this is 150. Right? So they said, which pair, so the pair that they're talking about that makes it a maximum is going to be this pair. So that's the pair that they're looking for. And you see when they say justify your answer, that's a calculation that I'm doing here. That's how you're justifying your answer, right? You're calculating it by and that's how you're going to justify your answer, right? Right, so what else we have here now? Right, in this question here we have a regular hexagon. So that's a six-sided figure, right? And AO is 5 cm. Determine the size of angle AOB. So they want this angle here, right? Now here's the thing. Because this diagram here, or this shape, is a regular hexagon, it's a six-sided figure, right? It means that all of the sides are equal, and all of these triangles that we have inside here, this triangle here, this, right? All of them are identical. All of those triangles are identical, right? So that means what we really have here, we have a total of 6 equilateral triangles, right? So when they say determine the size of angle AOB, right? Because it's an equilateral triangle, right? It means that this angle here has to be 60 degrees. So we can deduce that this angle here is going to be 60 degrees. All these triangles that we see in the regular hexagon, they are all equilateral triangles, right? Now the next part of the question here, a lot of students had difficulty working this out. right? A lot of students couldn't work this out. So what I would do in a scenario like this, right? So I would try to find the area of one triangle. Now we know this is 5 cm, right? But I don't know what this length is here, right? I don't know that length, right? But I know that this length is also 5 cm, and I know that this here is also 5 cm, right? Now, if you want to work out the height of this triangle here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Pythagoras' theorem in order to do that, right? So this here, I'm going to make this a right angle triangle where this here is 5 cm, but this length here at the base is actually half of 5, which is 2.5 cm. I hope you all kind of following this one. This one is a kind of tricky question. So what I need to do, I need to find the height of this triangle here. Why I want to work out the height? If I know the height, I can work out the area of one triangle and just multiply by 6, right? So I'm going to use Pythagoras' theorem. So I'm going to say h squared plus 2.5 squared is equal to 5 squared. So therefore h squared is equal to 5 squared minus 2.5 squared. So therefore h is equal to the square root of 5 squared minus 2.5 squared. And you're going to get about 4.33. Right? So that's the height of one triangle. So what I would do, I'd work out the area of one triangle, right? Or I could say the area of hexagon, right? So all we do, we take the area of one triangle, which is a half, by your base, which is 5, multiplied by the height. We just worked out the height, we got 4.33. Right? So that's the area of one triangle. And then you're multiplying that by 6. And I'm getting 64.95. Right? So that's the area of this hexagon here. Right? Right? Somebody's saying you can use herons. Yeah, you can, right? You can use that if you want, right? But I haven't seen any question like that within recent times, right? So this is a much easier way to work the problem. Use Pythagoras and we can work with this. Right? Now let's have a look at this question here, right? This is something that you can get in your current paper. So the diagram below, not drawn to scale, right? I think earlier the paper this year, I think January had something like this. No, sorry, not January 2023, I think had something like this. So we have a vertical pole PL standing on a horizontal plane KLM. Angle of elevation of P from K is 28 degrees. So the angle of elevation of P from K, so that's here, right, is 28 degrees. So this here is 28 degrees. That's this angle here. What else I want? LM is 19 meters. So I'm just putting in some numbers here, right? LM is 19 meters. Right, they give us that angle is 115. KL. Oh, so this angle here is, sorry, this length is 15. So this is 15 meters, right? So they want us to copy the diagram, show the angle of elevation. So I've done that. And one right angle. Actually, we have two right angles here. This is one here, and we have another right angle on this side here, right? Let's see what they want me to work out. They want their answers to two significant figures. They want PL and KM. So where is PL? All right, so PL, so I'm going to draw a side view of this thing. So PL and K. So this is 28 degrees. And this is 15. Right? And you want PL. So this is a right angle triangle, right? This is your opposite. This is your hypotenuse. So therefore that 15 there is your adjacent. So you all need to learn of this. So right? Now if you analyze the triangle, you realize that you want to calculate opposite and you have adjacent. So therefore the only one that gives me opposite and adjacent is tan. So we're going to say tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So therefore tan 28 is equal to opposite, which is PL, over adjacent, which is 15. So you're going to write tan 28 over 1, and then we're going to cross multiply. So therefore PL is equal to 15 multiplied by tan 28. So PL is equal to Alright, about they want the answer to two significant figures, so this is going to be 8.0 meters. Right, so that's my answer for that one, 8.0 meters. Right, so that is part A. Part B, we want to get Km. So where is Km now? Right, so Km is, so what we're looking at the triangle at the base, right? So therefore, what I can do here, we can use the cosine rule in order to work this out here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say Km squared is equal to 15 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 by 15 by 19 by cosine 115, sorry. Right, so I normally don't tell my class to learn of the formula. We learn how to apply the formula. So Km squared, right? So we're working out each of these things step by step. So 15 squared is 225 plus 19 squared is 361 minus 2 by 15 by 19 by cosine 115, and you're going to get a negative answer here. So we have minus 240.9. So therefore Km squared that's 826.9. So therefore Km is equal to the square root of 826.9 Now they want to answer to two significant figures, so this works out to about 29 meters, right? Right, so that's Km. What else they want us to work out now? The angle of elevation of P from M. Angle of elevation of P from M. So they want us to work out this angle here, right? So that's going to be pretty straightforward. because the triangle that we're looking at there to work that out will be this. P, L, M. And the angle that we need to work out is this angle here. Just so. Let's see what lengths we have here. So this is 19, and the height of the pole was 8, right? So this here is 19, and this is 8 here, right? And this is a right angle triangle here. So again, we're going to use tan again. So we're going to say tan theta is equal to opposite of hypotenuse, which in this case is going to be 8 over 19. So therefore theta is equal to arctan 8 over 19 you're going to get, now they want to answer to two significant figures, so this is about 23 degrees, right? So that's the angle of elevation that they're looking for there. Right? So guys, you can go through the video again, right? These are things that can come in your exam. Right, so go through the video again, look at the question, right? Most of them came from, like I said, the January 2012 paper, right? So the last question in your exam paper, all right, is typically going to be based on vectors and matrices. That's number 10. All right, so this one here is a very straightforward question. We have two position vectors, OA, OB, and they want us to write down what is OA. So OA, based on the diagram here, once you know the coordinates here, this coordinate is -1, 3, and this B here is 5, 1, right? So the vector OA is simply going to be -1, 3, and the vector OB, which is what they want as well, is simply going to be 5, 1. So nothing complicated here, we're just using the coordinates and you're writing it in a column vector format, right? To work out this part here, we can actually calculate it if we want, or you can go to the diagram and you can also figure it out. So if I want to get the vector BA, right, again, I could go to the diagram, or I can say it is BO plus OA. I can use a vector equation to work it out, in which case BO is going to be -5 -1 plus the vector OA, which is -1, 3. -5 -1 is -6. -1 plus 3 is going to be 2, right? So the vector BA is going to be -6, 2. Right, so that's part A. That's a 5 marks so far. What else we have here now? They said G is the midpoint of AB, right? G, where is G? So G is the midpoint of AB. We don't know where G is, but somewhere here. G is the midpoint of AB. And they want us to work out what is BG. Right, so BG right? If you go to the diagram, so you want BG, so you want this vector here, right? Now you already worked out BA, right? You already worked out BA. Now BG is simply going to be a half of BA, which is going to be a half multiplied by the vector BA, which is -6, 2. Right, so this is going to be -3 and 1, right? So that's the vector BG. So that's the answer for this. Then we want the vector OG now. Right? So that's this vector here. OG is this vector here. So if you want to get OG, OG is going to be OB plus BG. right? The vector OB, we had worked that out, or we had that before, that was 5, 1. So this is 5, 1, right? Plus BG. Oh, we worked out BG just now. Where is that? Minus 3, 1. Right? So 5, this is going to be 2, and 1 plus 1 is going to be 2. Right? So that's the vector OG here. 1 mark for these things because these are considered straightforward. Right? Okay, we have two vectors, two matrices, sorry, and you want to work out L plus 2M. Right? So L in this case here is 3, 2, 1, 4 plus 2M. So that's 2 multiplied by minus 1, 3, 0, 2. So this is 3, 2, 1, 4. This is a scalar multiplication. So this is going to be minus 2, 2 3s are 6, 0, and 4. Right? So then this has to work out still. So this is going to be 3 plus minus 2. You're going to get 1. 6 and 2 is 8. 1 and 0 is 1. 4 and 4 is 8. Right? So that's the vector that we're looking for here. Right? Next thing they want us to work out, so this is part 1, right? This is part 1. Part 2 is a product, so that's matrix product. So it's L by M, right? So L is 3, 2, 1, 4. And you're multiplying that by the matrix M, which in this case is minus 1, 3, 0, 2. Right, so we're going to do matrix multiplication. So we need to remember row by column. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take this row and multiply by this column here. So 3 by minus 1 is going to be minus 3, plus 2 by 0, so this is minus 3. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take this row, but this time I'm going to multiply by this column here. That's 3 3s are 9, and 4 is 13. Then we're going to take this row and multiply by this column. Minus 1 by 1 is minus 1. And then we're going to take this row and multiply by this column here. 1 by 3 is 3, 4 2s are 8, and 3 is 11. Right? Right, I kind of run out a little time here, but you can try the matrix multiplication, see what you come up with, but this here is the answer, right? It's row by column, right? Right, so they give us a matrix here, right? And it's Q, and they want us to find the inverse. That's what this is, right? So the first thing I would do, I would find the determinant of Q. So that's going to be 4 multiplied by 1 minus 2 by 1. Right? So this is going to be 4 minus 2, and you're going to get 2. Right? So now the inverse, which is written like this, is going to be 1 over the determinant, which is 1 over 2. And what I need to do, I need to find the adjoint of the matrix. So you're going to swap the position of the 4 and the 1. So this is a 1 here, and this is a 4. And then you're going to put a minus sign in front of this 2 and a minus sign in front of this, right? Now you can leave your answer like this if you want, but that is the inverse here. Or you can write it as a half minus 1 minus a half 2, right? So either you leave your answer like this or you give your answer like this, you'll still get a mark for it, right? right? And then the last part of the question, use a matrix method to find the value of x and y. So that's essentially a simultaneous equation they're asking us to solve here. And if you notice, what they did, they used the same matrix Q here, right? So we have to use the inverse in order to figure this out. So check this. We're going to have 4, 2, 1, 1 multiplied by xy is equal to 8, 3. Right? Now we just worked out the inverse of the matrix. Now anytime I'm working a question like this, I normally tell my students to work with this instead. Right? Don't work with the fractions, work with this inverse instead. Right? So you're going to multiply both sides of the equation by the inverse. So this is going to be a half. Right? 1 minus 2 minus 1, 4. 1 minus 2. 1 minus 2 minus 1, 4. Yeah. So you're going to multiply the left-hand side and the right-hand side of this equation by the inverse. Right? Now, when you work out or you multiply all of this on the left-hand side here, what happens here is that it reduces to simply xy. That is what it reduces to, right? On the right-hand side now, don't do anything with the half. Leave the half right there. And what you're going to do, you're going to multiply this matrix here by this vector here. So 8 by 1 is 8. 8 minus 6 is going to give me 2. And then we have to take minus 1 by 8, that's minus 8 plus 12, and you're going to get 4. When I work this out, I'm going to get 1 and 2. So therefore, x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2, right? X is 1, y is 2. So that's how we solve a simultaneous equation, right? Using the matrix method. Right? So I hope I didn't confuse you all too much with the last two questions, but those are things that actually come in your exam, right? All right, guys. So, all right. So this is just one of 2 sessions that I'm gonna have, right? I'm gonna have a next session tomorrow at 8 o'clock, right? The night before the exam. So hope I see you guys here. Just remember to hit like and subscribe, right? And my exam preparation for maths, add maths, chemistry, and physics, right, are all in progress. My exam preparation are usually 4 months, right? They're usually 4 months, right? And basically, we do a ton of work in preparation for the exam, right? So those of you interested in my exam preparation for June, right, you can send me a WhatsApp at this number here, right? All right, guys, so that's it for me for this afternoon, right? I hope this was helpful, right? And hopefully I'll see some of you guys tomorrow, right? Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Be safe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.